Okay, ready.
Okay, good morning, everyone. My name is Karen Rodriguez, and it is a great pleasure to welcome all of you to our collaborative workshop, titled From Repetition to Creation, Strategies to Foster Original Language Production in A1 Student. This workshop was designed as part of our teacher development course, and it seeks to address one of the most common challenge we face as English teachers, helping beginner learners move from simply repeating memorized phrases to expressing their own original ideas in the target language. As teacher, we know that creativity and communication go hand in hand. However, in many beginner classrooms, especially at the A1 level, students often rely heavily on model sentences provided in textbooks or guided practice. While this is a natural part of language learning, it can do also become in limitation when learners are not encouraged to take risks, adapt, or personalize what they say. In our experience, this issue is not about lack of ability, but rather about lack of the confidence and opportunities for guided creativity. Students frequently believe that they must speak perfectly to communicate, which creates fear of making mistakes. Our goal as educators is to shift that mindset to help them see that language is a tool for expressing themselves, not just a set of structures for to memorize. And during this workshop, we aim to explore different strategies and reflective teaching and practices that foster originality, autonomy, and fluency in the classroom. Together, we reflect on how we can balance controlled and free production activities so that students feel supported but also challenged to produce language that is truly their own. This session is meant to be collaborative and inspiring. It is a space to share experience, rethink our methods, and find practical ways to promote creativity, even with beginners who are just starting their English journey. By the end of this workshop, we hope each of all you will take with you not only with new strategies, but also an a renewed motivation to encourage your students to be creators of language, not just imitators of it. Once again, welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us today. I truly hope this space helps us grow both as teachers and as learners. And now, to continue with our session, I'd like to give the floor to my colleague Sebastián Arevalo, who will present the classroom problem that inspired this workshop and explain its main causes and implications. Thank you.
Okay, Karen, thanks a lot for the introduction, and you're warm welcome to our guest here. Hello, everybody. Good evening to you. It's a pleasure to share this collaborative workshop with all of you. The idea with my intervention here is gonna be to explain the purpose of the gamified resource that we have planned to to develop on the Lavinova, and it's a pedagogical um, advance on this task. Okay, in my part, I would like to explain how this digital resource, the interactive grammar quest that we have been planning, um, connects with the topic of teacher development and student motivation. As Karen already said, we have identified in our practices that students, mostly the beginners, the beginner students, A1 or even A2 levels, don't uh, don't cope with coming up with their own expressions. So they have to copy model sentences, and that is something that we want to that is a challenge for us. Okay, so during our practice, and in my case at Towers Language Center, one of the biggest challenges we found was that A1 students could follow examples perfectly, but they struggled to produce their own sentences. So they were afraid of making mistakes and depend too much on models. For that reason, our resource is designed to promote creativity, autonomy, and confidence through short gamified activities. These activities include mini grammar missions, vocabulary puzzles, and short speaking challenges, all supported by visual, audio, and immediate feedback. The goal is not only to make grammar learning fun, but to allow students to build ownership of the language, to see grammar as something they can use, not just to memorize. From a teacher's point of view, the resource also helps us reflect on our practice. It encourages us to think about how digital tools can support engagement and how students' interaction give us valuable data for self-assessment and improvement. Mm, in my case, personally speaking, and I mean, beyond towers, in my occupation, I have to deal with students from rural areas here in Colombia, and it is quite awesome to find the the appropriate scenario for them to get in touch with the language. What is that? To get the interest in which, I mean, the interest area in which they can apply the foreign language so they can be encouraged indeed to learn and to apply the language with their own ideas. That is something that I have found in my practice here. So I truly believe that through projects like this, we as teachers move from being content transmitters to learning facilitators, empowering our students to be active participants in their own process. So that is gonna be like that is the idea or the explanation of the reason of being of this gamified resource. Okay, so that would be it about this explanation. Now, our partner Andres Alvarado is gonna give us some reflections and a little bit of discussion about the topic. So, Andres, you can continue whenever you want.
Okay, thank you, Sebastian. Thank you, all of you. Good evening. Hello for everyone. So, yes, we are going to start with the discussion. We are going to um, dive in this topic by using some questions that I prepared. And we this tonight we have an special guest that accept our invitation, and it's a pleasure to have her here with us. And she is gonna share with us some experiences, some point of view that we consider very important for our project, our and our training as well, because it's the experience of someone that have been in that field of education. And I'm going to start. Teacher, we have the teacher Marta Jimena Linares, and I want to ask you if you could tell us something about your background. Have you been teaching, and how long have you been teaching, and that kind of things. A little bit about your background.
Of course. Well, hello everyone. It is a pleasure to share this space with you. My name is Jimena Linares. Okay, Marta Jimena, but I prefer Jimena. I'm professional English as a foreign language teacher. I currently work in a higher education, but in face-to-face and distance learning modalities. I hold a degree in English as a foreign language and a specialization in distance higher education, and I'm currently pursuing a master's degree in education. Throughout my academic journey, I have also completed diploma courses in American culture and politics, pedagogical strategies, and for the development of thinking, and a leadership mindset also. And these studies have allowed me to broaden my perspective on language teaching, integrating cultural and contextual aspects that make learning English a more meaningful and dynamic experience. I firmly believe that education and especially language teaching should be dynamic, participatory, and student centered. That's why I'm constantly seeking new strategies and digital tools to make the learning process more engaging and effective.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you for being here. It's a pleasure and an honor to have you here. And let's start with the question. The first question is, how do you foster communication skills in a one student? We know that maybe there are different factors that affect the participation in maybe the first class, the first session when I arrive to for learning English in a center in different situations. And it's difficult for me because I am afraid to make mistakes and maybe the icebreak is not the icebreaker activities is not enough. So how do you foster that communication, that participation in on them?
Okay, well, my primary focus for developing communication skills in A1 students is creating a safe, supportive, and interactive environment. That's the main key. That minimizes the fear of making mistakes, thus promoting the active practice of speaking and listening. My methodology, in my case, speaking from my point of view, is based on the following key pillars for you to consider to take it into account. First, contextualize and meaningful practice, which means foster confidence by using basic vocabulary and grammar in real life scenarios such as role playing, ordering food, giving directions. This gives the language a purpose and makes it more relevant to students. The second key is reinforcement through routine and repetition. I employ the systematic repetition of key phrases and structures, integrating them into simple classroom routines, such as greetings, basic questions, to strengthen comprehension and comfort when using English in familiar settings. When you have
Mhm.
a basic knowledge, it is easier for you to communicate. So let's start with this. the
Okay.
third the third key is visual support and collaboration. That's also important. To compensate for limited vocabulary, I use visual aids such as flashcards or gestures, like drinking or
Yeah.
running or stuff like that, which reduce anxiety and connect concepts with concrete elements. Additionally, I prioritize pair small group work, which is very important, the interaction among of them, because they can practice what they have learned. Okay. The fourth key is attention to pronunciation and formative feedback. This is very important since the beginning. Pay attention to pronunciation and provide a formative feedback. I place a special emphasis on the pronunciation and common sounds, utilizing resources such as minimal pairs. Example, sheep and sheep, which
Mhm.
I'm sure
Mhm.
Camilo saw that in English phonetics before. Regarding errors, I apply gentle formative correction, referring to offer feedback after the conversation to allow the self-reflection and self-correction without interrupting the fluency. So let's wait for the student to stop practicing or speaking, and then you say, oh, you're in a good way. For example, once when I was at the university, I said look of view when I pretend to say point of view, but the
Mm-hmm.
teacher just stopped or was waiting for me to finish my sentence, and then he applied the correction feedback using, oh, you used your point of view. So I understood that I was making a mistake and automatically correctly. Confidence is the fifth key. So the central focus is building self-esteem. That's very important because a nervous student would never interact with others or even with you. So I celebrate the small success and reinforce that making mistakes is part of a process, and positive reinforcement and praise are fundamental to empowering students to experiment with the language. That's my keys. Those are my keys.
Okay, very good. So, you named different strategies that you use, different kinds of activity, different resources and pedagogical tools that you use in your different session. But in a possible scenario that you maybe must compare what do you think? Which do you consider more important in an initial learning stage, repetition or production? Or how are they important for the learning process?
Well, in the initial stage of language learning, both repetition and production play key roles, both of them. But I consider repetition maybe is more important at the beginning because repetition allows students to internalize linguistic structures, vocabulary, and pronunciation patterns more effectively. This is crucial in the easily phase, and this by repeating word or phrases multiple times, the brain establishes connections that make easier to memorize and use the information more naturally. However, the production is also important as once students feel more comfortable with what they have learned, they need to start using the real context to apply that. So production helps them build confidence and better understand how to apply what they've learned in real communication situation. Now, since my point of view, not my look of view, my approach will be to balance both. First, establish a solid foundation through repetition, such as in listening and repetition of exercises, kind of that, listening. And then gradually move students towards production, starting with more guided activities and later progressing to freer ones as they advance. The key is not overwhelm students with production too early because they could maybe get scared, as this can lead to frustration. They maybe feel scared and frustrated, so they
Mhm.
don't yet have the necessary foundations. A good balance between both processes is essential for effective learning.
Excellent, excellent. So, what strategies do you use in a session with beginning students to help them generate their own sentence based on the class topic?
Okay, this is a difficult one. My main goal with beginning level students is to gradually empower them to generate their own sentence, ensuring they feel supported and in confident with their abilities. So to achieve this, I implement the structure methodology based on scaffolding the interactive practice, based on fifth, again, fifth keys. The first one is modeling and guiding practice. For example, I start by modeling simple structures. For example, I like pizza, and breaking down the components, subject, verb, object, etc. And then I use guided repetition, encouraging students to vary words within the same structure. I like ice cream, I like sushi, I like hamburgers, etc., which allows them to experiment with content without the pressure of creating syntax from scratch. Now, the second one is scaffolding with frames and visual aids. Once more, visual aids is very, very important. And I provide sentence frames based on the lesson's topic. For example, I like, and then I left a blank space for they to fill. My favorite hobby is, I left a blank space for them to fill. And this helps students to concentrate on vocabulary. Additionally, I use visual cues like flashcards, pictures, whatever, to help them associate words with concepts. That's called mnemonic technique.
Mm-hmm.
The third one is collaborative practice and personalization. So I encourage pair and group work for collaborative sentence creation, which reduces anxiety. And I design simple dialogues and role plays that use present structures with room personalization. Furthermore, I encourage them to talk about personal topics. You feel more comfortable when you're speaking about something you like.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the key. Find what the students like or love and start interacting with that so they can focus on that topic instead of the grammar or the pronunciation or whatever. Hmm? Gradual release of responsibility is very important. So it's just when, for example, when you're learning how to ride a bike and you start with the two little, wheels,
Wheels. Yeah.
and then you take one off and then the other one off, is the same. And positive feedback, once more, is very important. And that's it.
Okay, I had a last question prepared, but I want to change because you broke down every details of this answer, so it's useful now. But I want to ask you, how do you foster maybe when you try and they repeat, but in a moment they need to you encourage them to create to participate with their own sentence and they can't or they don't want to do it, so what strategy would you use in that case, because there are different cases in which we have a student that um, are so nervous and for them it's too difficult to participate even they know uh, maybe what is that strategy we can use to achieve to manage that they participate.
Okay, I will answer that question with only one word: gaming. Gaming is a key. Gaming is not only for gamers, gaming is
Yeah.
also
Mm-hmm.
for students and people who want to learn something. And I'm speaking as a teacher and as a gamer, okay? So when a student is gaming, the student is focused on reach the goal, on winning the purpose before their partners. So they're focusing on another thing, and the nervous stops being there. It just disappear. That's the key.
Oh, okay, okay. So thank you for your answer. It was an amazing, amazing information, amazing detail that we can take in account and use. I think I am on the same page with you in all that aspects, and it is impossible to say in a better way. So it was wonderful, and thank you again for your participation and your huge apport to this session.
Of course, you're welcome. And I'll be sharing through the chat box in here something that I would like you to try. Okay? So let me get into the chat in here before I leave. This is important for your interview or your homework. I swear that. Give me a second. This is working here. Okay, okay. Wait. Okay, so I was talking about gaming because gaming is now trending. Is now trending. But gaming has always been in ourselves since we were
Yeah.
kids. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So I would like you to, someone of you, share your screen while you open this link, or all of you can open the link, of course, but I would like the screen of someone.
Okay, give me a second, teacher. I will open the link.
Okay,
Just give me one moment, please.
all right.
All right, give me a second. I'm going to share my screen. Oh, I cannot share my screen since the organizer is the only
Yeah,
one
give
who
me a
can do it.
sec. Give me a sec. Hmm.
Here's a little of
Oh my God.
context because I'm creating a gamified resource
Okay.
about prepositions of play, which is for A1 students. And I found this game. Of course, I'm going to integrate it into what I'm creating and designing because it's very important. And I'm sure students will practice what they have learned and also have fun.
Okay. So just to be clear, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay.
It's quite funny. It's like
Yeah,
playing
it's
Nintendo, Pac-Man, something like
It's
that.
like Pac-Man.
oh, that's
Yes.
yes.
Yeah, okay.
So be careful. Watch the sentence.
It's on the
On the book. Yeah, is the down there. Yeah.
okay, okay.
And
Yeah,
Okay,
it's
don't
on
get
the book.
caught by the
Yeah.
robots.
it was a tricky question. Okay.
And this is how we break nervous students.
Yeah.
Okay, I got
Hmm.
it. Oh no, oh no, oh no,
Oh
no.
my God.
Oh my God. Oh no again.
If you don't have digital resources, for example, a computer, a video game, you can also try another games because gaming is not also, or it's not always about using technologies. It's
Yeah.
just being kids. For example,
Yes.
a Tingo Tango game, and the student who loses can give a sentence about the last class they have, for example. We were learning verbs and Tingo Tango, someone lost and then give me a verb. If you don't say
Okay.
it, you can pay a penitence, a punishment.
Yes, so good. But another important aspect, as Sebastian mentioned, is the issue of rural areas. Since these environments, it is very difficult to carry out these activities with the students.
Sure. That's what I was telling you, for example, the Tingo Tango, but there are more. For
Yeah,
example, what about that
yes,
stop gaming? Do you remember the stop gaming where you have to write down
Yeah.
words like
Hmm.
Yeah.
yes,
fruit,
yes.
color? Okay, for example, that. What about a stop activity, but you're learning verbs? So in the first column is verb in present, verb in past, verb in progressive, whatever. It will be great, for example.
Yeah.
Yes,
Hmm.
It,
we have very, very strategies. Very.
yes, we have a lot. That's it.
They're going to catch me again. Oh no. Oh, that was close.
He just into the game. He just
Yeah,
he just went
this is
in.
We
funny.
lost him.
Okay,
But
and
I
with
just
that, yes, Sebastian, sorry.
no, I just wanted to say that I found very interesting your intervention, and it's very fulfilling to hear you. Not only because your fluency, because you're so fluent, that's so awesome, and because of the arguments that you just gave us. And also regarding what Karen just said about the rural areas, even though it is a they are rural areas, we are in 2025, and everybody here has a cell phone. So it is a tool that we have to take advantage of. So again, thanks a lot, Marta. Teacher Marta has been so So great to hear you here, and that's what I wanted to say. Thanks to you all.
Okay, guys. Thank you and have fun learning and doing your
Okay.
best.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye bye. Thank you so
Okay.
much.
Bye bye.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Okay, so before finishing the meeting, I would like to close with our little reflection and feedback of what we could learn here in this space and with what our expert give to us. Of course, again, giving the thanks to our expert, the teacher Jimena. So the first point that I want to touch is when we work with beginner students, fostering the communication skills by creating a safe and friendly environment where they feel comfortable and when they're speaking, even if they make mistakes, it's important the use of pictures, gestures, and simple questions to help them to express ideas in an easy and natural way. And it is important too, because we should think as teachers that when students feel support, they start to lose the fear of speaking and become more confident. The repetition is important as production in both ways, as our expert told us. We must balance them because the repetition stage is important so the student can learn the pronunciation and how the syntax of the structure is made. But the production is also important because the student can learn how to produce original sentences in a real life context. However, it is meaningful to give them small opportunities to produce their own sentences so they feel confident and both give the sentence in order to make them used to the listening and to the speaking skill. We could use strategies like sentence frames, modeling, and substitution activities. For example, as the teacher said, I like ice cream, I like sushi, I like pizza. We can use activities like this is a cat, this is a dog, this is a bird. And this helps them to understand how to create sentences by themselves. The formative feedback is an essential part of this process, so we can try to correct students in a positive and encouraging way, focusing on communication rather than perfection. So when they make a mistake, um, we could try to repeat the sentence correctly or to give a short example instead of interrupting them, just like the expert said, when the look of view, the teacher told her point of view, but he waited to her to finish the sentence and then he gave the feedback. By last, scaffolded activities can support meaningful learning because as Ausubel proposed in the meaningful learning theory, gradually guiding students through modeling, repetition, and independent production may help them to connect new languages and structures with their previous knowledge. And these connections allows learning to be deeper and more lasting. Moreover, scaffolding not only provides linguistic support, but also builds the audience confidence, reducing anxiety and encouraging active participation in the classroom. So that's all. Thank you to you all to be here tonight. Thanks for your interventions. And that's all. Thank you so much.
Thanks to you all, guys. Thanks to you
Thanks you all guys. Thank you.
for sharing your ideas and for being here and for being so helpful with activities here. Okay. Thanks a lot. Indeed, I do mean it, and I do hope we can meet in the future again. Okay. So if we
Okay.
Okay,
can
thank
talk
you.
after the recording, it will be
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah. Okay.
Mhm.
I'm going to.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thank you.